culture's like the air you breathe, right? And I'll say this, culture can stink, but when you've been in a particular place for so long, you become used to the stench, so it no longer stinks to you,
That's
right?
right.
But the other piece with that is you can have a great, I mean, strong particular vision for ministry. Your vision can be great, but that vision will not live, it will not take off because the culture can actually kill it. So sometimes we believe we got, it's the vision or we don't have direction it's not always that. Sometimes you have that, but the culture is just toxic, the interactions, the trust is not there. So the vision can't take off.
Yeah, somebody once said, "Culture eats vision for breakfast."
Oh, yes, it does. Absolutely. And that is absolutely true. And so as a new leader, it's taking time to really learn and assess the culture. And with that, it requires patience is not necessarily a virtue of mine, but it does require patience. Even as we are ministering to others as pastors, God is also forming and shaping us through this work, right? And so, one of the things that we have to do when we are new in a context is we have to crucify the fleshly desire to perform well quickly, that you're looking at certain metrics and targets because we live in a metric and target based that, and you got to get to this place quickly, you got to do this, you got to, because there's a pressure that you feel to prove
Mhm.
that whether I was the right selection of the bishop or I was the right selection of the church. I want to prove it, right? At the end of the day, you have to crucify that desire because it's going to require some patience, and you're going to have to learn context. You're going to have to learn culture and understand that even when it doesn't seem like you have forward momentum, you are gaining momentum because you're doing the right thing in the right season.
And even, if you're as you assess sometimes the culture can be healthy, it can be
Yeah.
toxic,
Oh,
it can be
yeah, for
somewhere in
sure.
between. Regardless, culture is one of those it's like a house plant.
Yes.
Either you have to kind of bring it back to life, or sometimes you just have to keep watering it and nurturing it. Some of my hardest moments in ministry have been where I've realized, whether it was staff culture or church culture, I've just kind of taken my hands off the wheel or forgotten to tend to but it's part of that. And, when you talk about, not responding
Yeah.
toxically
Yes.
sometimes, what you're really doing in those moments is, instead of empowering a particular way of being, you're starting to short circuit that way of being. You're beginning to prune the plant in a certain direction. And so I
Absolutely.
you know, I think, yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, yeah, I've just been here for a year, and I think I'm just now beginning to figure out
Right.
cultural pieces. So yeah.
Absolutely. And even down to geographical aspects, right? So I'm from, like I mentioned, just outside of the DC area. I left the DC area and went to Newark, New Jersey. I was serving a church in New Jersey and then went from New Jersey to North Carolina, right? Completely different context, right? And so even that can impact ministry, right? It can impact how people engage and interact, right? When I went to New Jersey, if you go into a place of business, they didn't speak really, And I'll never forget, we went to a DSW in New Jersey. This is when I realized I was in a different place from Maryland, and they really didn't speak at all. And my wife purchased something, and it wasn't, thank you for shopping with us. The bag was just handed to us, and my wife was kind of frustrated by that, so she said, "Well, thank you," and he said, "You're welcome." And so that was in New Jersey, but then you come here and people, speak and or they'll wave and everything. So different context, right? Uh, and so it's learning the context. And then ultimately you will also be shaped in some ways by the context as well, right?